shared. I want to make sure it's... Oh, my goodness gracious. Which window is it? Oh, it keeps disappearing on me. All right. Hey! Okay, now it looks like something. Great. Oh, my goodness gracious. Which window is it? Oh, it keeps disappearing on me. All right. And let me... If I have the volume up on that, you'll hear everything I say delayed, like by a minute or something, 30 seconds. And then you think we have confusion now. And I just wanted to share it in the group. So go home and mastermind. We're live. Smiley. Paste. And post. All right, I think we got it. Everybody got their notes. So, Kerry, got your, you know what you're going to say?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. All right, cool. Need Reaper. Come back, Reaper. Check, check, check. Hello, hello, hello. All right, we're good. So we're talking about bio, right? We good on the bio? Everybody know what we're doing?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Well, let me just get my notes so that when I hit the record button, I can start the thing in the proper fashion. And there we are. Welcome back to the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus Musicians Mastermind. Today we are talking about your bio. An often misunderstood aspect of a musician's promo pack is the biography, or Biog, as Kerry calls it. On today's call, we will discuss the essential elements that your bio must have to get potential fans to check you out and check out your music. Because if they like the bio, more often than not, they're going to go like, ooh, this guy sounds interesting. What's he playing? And they're going to go check you out. So welcome, everybody. We've got Kerry, J.K., and Joe Freeman with us today. What's going on, guys? Everybody all right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yep, doing good.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. I know that this is a kind of sort of specialty of Kerry's. We've talked about bios before, and I know you really dig it. And you worked on my bio with me, and I'm thinking out some modifications I want to make to that as well after doing some research for today's call. So we could talk about that later. But what do you think, Kerry? Like, what is your main when you see a musician's bio? What's the thing that's kind of like you're sort of like looking for?
Okay, well let's go off on one of my trademark tangents here, and immediately I'm going to set, and I'm immediately going to compare this to something else. So, like we were going to go off down to the movie theatre and we're going to go see a film, and you look at all the posters. What's the first thing you're going to look for? Is it going to be the best new film of the decade, the biggest hit of the year? Those will all be there on the poster, but is that what's going to get you into the theatre?
No, because everybody says that their film is the best new hit of the year.
Right, what is going to get you into the theatre to see a particular film?
Probably a cool-looking poster, if I don't know anything about it.
What's on that poster?
I don't know, something about the story that kind of grabs my attention.
There you go. That is the very first thing that people don't get about band biogs, is immediately they think it's all about platitudes and saying how great you are. And if that's what you lead with, that is the biggest rookie mistake that everybody makes, and it's probably the first thing that's going to make your band biog ineffective. The point of your band biog, you are going to talk about your achievements, but it's but how great you are is actually secondary on this. What's going to show how great you are is when they play your track and hear your music. And if you're not great, and they'll find out that way anyway, and you're not going to hide it by bullshitting them beforehand.
Okay.
So I mean, this is another thing. I mean, like Joe will be able to give us his perspective on here as well. I don't know how this ties in with general marketing theory, but certainly for this particular aspect of it, if you just go in straight away saying how great you are before you've done anything to back it up, then people will just blow raspberries at it. Nobody's going to be, mainly because, as you just said with the movie poster example, everybody says it's the biggest film of the year. Everybody says they're the band that's going to change music. It says absolutely nothing. So instead, what you need to be leading with is what makes you interesting. What is your hook? And you also nailed it as well when you said on the movie poster, what is going to draw people in is the story. What this thing's going to be about. What you're going to be in the mood. The other thing is, when you're looking at so many bands out there, you're looking at somebody who closely matches your mood at the time, who has something to say about your life at that time, or something that will take you somewhere at that time that's interesting. And that's what paragraph 1 of your band bio needs to be. Something about whatever it is that makes you interesting. Now, if that's because you got grade 8 euphonium in band class, then fine. But that on its own probably won't be enough. But more likely, it will be something that's only tangentially connected to music at all. It might be where you live, where you grew up. It might be something about your area. Certainly folk groups, like Melissa Owen, she's really going... she really puts her home state front and centre. And that really works for her because that puts you in mind of a place and what it's like.
I think that the artist Jules' bio reads something like "girl from Alaska who lived out of her van for 2 years," and so that was like kind of like what people would get people to go like, oh, "Wait a minute, from Alaska and you lived out of a van," and so people would kind of then get kind of drawn in.
So straight away, when you say Alaska and living in a van, that's got a picture in my mind straight away of this person, and I'm imagining the big skies and the cold weather, and I'm imagining that sort of life, how that life experience is different to mine. So this person's going to have something interesting to say that isn't as outside of my experience. It's a great example. It doesn't have to be out where you came from, even if you come from somewhere pretty mundane. It could be anything. It could be. It could be the.
Good.
Carry on.
I was going to say, it's just you have to. Everybody's got something. We all have something interesting.
Mm.
We all have some interesting backstory. I am a Reformed evangelical Christian. I started out in the evangelical Christian scene as a. I was tracked towards being a Christian artist who was going to be a, kind of a evangelical kind of guy, and I left that. Okay, so I could put something like that in my bio that would make people go like, "Wow, where's this guy coming from?" I mean, I wouldn't say it like that. You want to word it in a way that captures the feeling as well.
Yeah, that's something you have to tread carefully of as well, because you don't want to alienate a whole bunch of people.
Actually, I'm going to disagree with you. I think you should alienate people. I think that alienating people is one of the biggest things you can do. That is the success of somebody like Howard Stern. He alienates many, but the fact that he alienates a lot of people makes a lot of other people really love him. And I look at it this way. If I alienated you, you're not my audience. That's cool, because there's going to be plenty of other people who are going to absolutely gravitate towards it. And it also depends on what you're going for. If you're tracking yourself as a Justin Bieber type artist where you really want to have mass appeal, then your marketing people they've got to tread carefully in that. But if you're an indie rock guy, hardcore rapper, somebody, a militant socialist folk guy like a Pete Seeger or somebody like that, then offending people and having a hardcore stance on something can be your absolute best friend. So I disagree with you on that a little wee bit.
Okay.
It depends on what you're trying to do. Nothing wrong with alienating people. Because for instance, I play heavy rock. People that like, for instance, Melissa Morehouse's music, they're not going to be my fans anyways. So there's no sense in me trying to appeal to them because they're not going to like it. You understand what I'm saying? Make sense?
Yeah, no, that's good. I probably used the wrong words there. It's not so much about not alienating people. I think it's not alienating them without value. Okay. Or like there's a way you can do it where even if they don't agree with you politically, then they can at least respect you. That's the other thing that I want to...
I'm going to write down, it's okay to be controversial.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to give you and one of the examples I've got right here is a band that is political. And so some people might say that they alienate a whole bunch that way, but I'll show you how it's done well. And the other thing as well is it might be that your own life is actually quite boring and there's not much more to say. Or you might be the sort of band that is about spinning a narrative. I've talked before about assembling something with a contract where everyone knows you're playing a part and they go along with it. They're willing to suspension of disbelief. So it might be that you come up with something that is clearly horse shit, but you're going in all with it, but you're going all in with it, and it's fun. You're creating something that's a story that's a bit more interesting than reality. So people just want to go along there and diving and see where it goes. If you do that, it's got to be obviously horse shit and obviously entertaining.
Well, the thing of it is, also keep in mind, guys, and you said the right word, entertaining. We are in the entertainment business. So telling a few little fibs here and there to kind of like juice it up a little bit, or, adding a little hyperbole and stuff. People are pretty sophisticated. I was thinking today as I was preparing for the show that like a good heading maybe for my band Strangelove would have been like, when Strangelove, when they took the stage in 2014, they took a total dump and everybody booed them off the stage. But a year and a half later, they had the audience lighting the dumpsters on fire and overturning cars in the parking lot. Now, but it totally describes the band, okay, without using any cliches. And people go like, oh, I want to read more. And they know the thing about taking the dump on stage. They know that we're being hyperbolic, and it just gets people, you laughed, right? So you're going to go like, oh, these guys sound cool. I want to go to that show. Stuff like, you can be hyperbolic, you can be fun, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more kind of attitude with it as well. So have fun with people. It's the entertainment business. People want to have fun. Everything you do should reflect who you are, your brand, everything. So if you are like a high energy rock thing, make that bio high energy and make it rock and get people excited. You want to bring those people in. If your music is introspective, then that should be the photos you use, the artwork you use, how you structure your bio, everything should be bringing people in from the beginning. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Rant
so basically what we've got here is you're building a story, you're building a narrative, and you're going all in with it. So you're actually taking this thing seriously, and your whole aesthetic is going to come in around that. And if it is your real self, then it's got to be real enough. If it is something that's obviously a construct, then you've got to be committed to it enough to make it interesting, and it's not just something you've thrown out. Once you've done all that, and once you've got all that story, that's when you can start using your actual achievements to back it up. And when you do it, that's was it the old Barry Bonds thing about it ain't bragging if you can do it. That's when it's time to start bragging, because at that point you can start saying that they were played by this radio station. They did this high profile gig. They appeared at this festival. That then all backs up what you've just gone and what you've already led with about who you are and why you're interesting. So the bulk of your bio, certainly the first half of it, is going to be about what makes you personally interesting. And that half of it is probably going to be the same if you're just starting out or if you're touring the world. But the second half then is when you get to start bringing what you've actually done, hopefully in language that doesn't sound too boastful, but sounds like, I'm just saying that this is because the facts of how it is. That then backs up and shows that not only are we interesting, we've had this vision, this is how far along we are with it now. And at that point, that's when you can start saying the biggest movie hit of the year. I don't know. I know you said Roger Ebert. Obviously, he died. I don't know who the current Roger Ebert is, but whoever or whatever great and quotes came out there. Because at that point, you've already got their interest, and at that point, you're just backing up what you've already said. The trick is not to lead with being boastful. If you lead with being boastful, you're going in the bin. Okay. I'm
going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm curious to hear your response on it. What if you haven't done anything? You're a good artist. This is your first outing. You're just kind of getting started. You wrote some great songs. It's well produced. It sounds good. You know what I mean? It's definitely, and you've got the first part down. You figured out how to write the story.
And the whole thing is going to be about how interesting you are.
Okay. So you can't. So don't be. So I want to tell people, like, if you can't really think of any accolades yet. Like, I think accolades too need to be meaningful. Not I won a talent show in third grade. Stuff like that, but if you don't have something like that, could you even, let me ask your thoughts on this. Could you even work that into the bio and make a joke about the talent show in third grade? I mean,
Yeah,
if it would fit with the rest of your vibe, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
So,
Yeah, I mean, if you can build a story around it.
Yeah. What do you got to say, Joe?
But most.
it's got to complement your whatever you're doing. So in your case, it would be your music. So I would venture to say that saying that you haven't done anything isn't true, because if you're writing a bio, you're writing that bio in order to get yourself made aware, people made aware of who you are, and the fact that you have done something. You wrote music, you've played the guitar, you've done this, you've done that, and you've done it with certain people in certain places. So you've done something.
I'm not,
and you can pull those experiences into the bio, and pull the feeling and the stories within your music into the bio in order to get people's attention. Because ultimately, the bio is about you, but it's also more about what you're doing and the two of them working together. So it's gotta pull people's attention to what you're doing, and what you're trying to get people to focus on. So you've done something, and there's a story to be told somewhere in there. Sometimes pulling it out is harder, because you're the one who lived it.
Good point. Good point.
I'll tell you one other rookie mistake you should avoid at this point that a lot of people do, and this is a really common thing, and that's to lead with how all music sucks at the moment, and you're going to be the person that saves it. And first of all, this is an enormous cliche. And of course, it's meant to be a little tongue-in-cheek, and no one's meant to take it too seriously. But the thing is, when you've read it for the 50th time that day, it sort of gets old very fast. And the other thing is, it's like you're coming in and trying to join it. It's like saying that, first of all, anybody who's a serious music fan knows full well that not all modern music is correct. There's more music out there than ever. Anyone who says there isn't good music around isn't looking for it. And so if you're leading like that, it just sounds like you haven't been looking around. You don't know what music is. You've just managed up your own arse. And so straight away, you're coming at them. You might as well have led with the boasts, because that's what it sounds like.
Well, yeah,
it sounds
right.
like the only interesting thing you've got to say is everybody sucks but me. Oh, is that right? Well, off you go then. If you're leading with, I mean, like there's, I'm going to show you some examples of bad ones as well, but this is one that will often come up, is in a world of music where nobody's making good songs anymore, there's been nothing good for 20 years, it's all a load of crap, everyone's been waiting, but here come the band to save the day, they're going to show everybody what a load of shit everything else is. And so you've spent a lot of time insulting everybody. You haven't told me one thing yet about yourselves.
I think if you have a quote like that, though, from like a well-respected reviewer or well-respected magazine,
but don't lead with it.
Don't lead with that. I understand.
That goes at the end of the review.
That goes towards the end of the review. What other people are saying, and that's the place where you put. But you don't say it about yourself. B, you don't lead with it. And C, if you do have something like that, that is something in a section where you say, where you maybe post like review, where you put some reviews or what other people are saying, stuff like that. You said a word that I want to get into. You said the word cliche.
Oh, yeah.
And there are some cliches that I see in bands, and I've gone back and looked at old bios and promo stuff that I've written and just cringe because it's just full of these. One in the niche that I'm in, one of the cliches that I see all the time is this. You ready? High energy.
Yeah.
I'm just
that's association with 80s gay disco, isn't it?
It's association with it's high energy rock. It's always like, we're a high energy band. We're a high energy band. You see that all the time. Like, what I would tell you to do is, if I was correcting that paper in an English class, I would put a red line through it and I would write, "Show me, don't tell me." So, what does high energy look like? Does that mean the audience is throwing their underwear at the stage? Does that mean that people are smashing beer bottles over each other's heads? Does that mean, what does that mean? So come up with some kind of imagery or some kind of something that shows me what that is, because the people will get you don't need, and that's going to be way more interesting to read, way more entertaining to read. Avoid words like heartfelt. Avoid words like soulful. These are overdone. Your music probably is heartfelt and soulful. Find another way of saying
like
it. Find a way that's interesting. What'd you say?
Don't be in a wheat field at sunset.
Yeah.
It's like, on a railroad.
If you catch yourself using a cliche like that, what makes it heartfelt? What makes it soulful? Go deeper. Like, really get into what you thought, what you were feeling, what you were experiencing, and more importantly, what you want them to feel and experience. And that makes it heartfelt and soulful. It's part of like developing your niche down further. You let people know what experience they're going to have, because nowadays we're all about experiences. We all want to live life fully, which is a cliche in itself, but you know what I'm saying?
Right. What do you mean by living life fully, Joe? That's a cliche. I'm kidding. I know you mean it. You said something, and I think that we can. This is a guideline, and this is kind of pulled from kind of what Kerry and Joe have both said so far, and so I wrote this down. Ultimately, the bio needs to capture the feeling of what you do into words. And the better you can capture that feeling, the more you're going to make your target audience salivate for that music. They start reading that bio, and you're describing, and you're getting them excited, and you're using great language, and you are using great imagery, and you are getting them really revved up for whatever it is. Maybe your music is getting busy music. Okay, this I think is where like a lot of R&B artists really could like pull some stuff out. Joe Jones's songs are so sexy they'll have your girlfriend taking your top off in the first 20 seconds. Okay, that's a little sexist, but you get the idea. It's a direct thing. It shows you exactly what experience. When does it start, Joe? It's like so people will click. People will want to know more. They'll get excited about it. You're giving them the exact experience. So you want to capture whatever that feeling your music creates. You want to find a way to put it into words in a fun, interesting way that they want to keep reading. Kerry, do you have any information on whether the bio should be long or should be short? What are your thoughts on it?
Ultimately, I think you're going to need versions of it.
Okay.
Again, depending on where you're going to post it. Because, not all sites have the same character limit. So, ideally, you want a short version. I don't have the numbers to hand. I should have come with that. They'll have changed since I last checked, anyway. I think the shortest ones were, obviously, Twitter Shorts. And some of the sites there will just have to be things like Bandcamp. Definitely is one of the short ones. That one you've got room for 2 short paragraphs, and that's it. So you'll need to have a condensed version. Then some of them you might have a bit more room to play with, so you can have a wider version like that. Maybe let you put in a few more examples. Generally, the short version will be 2 short paragraphs. I don't know what the character count is at the moment, but it will be, I'm going to say sort of 2 short, but you should be able to tell your story in 2 short paragraphs anyway. Simply because that will be a lot of people's attention span. Then you can add a 3rd paragraph for the next one, or add a few more details to the next one, coming up to your full length one, which will basically be everything you've done, your life story. But that's the one that will go on your website when people actually do want to know in more detail about you. It won't be the first thing you see, and it won't be what goes out in your press release. So yeah, short, medium. Have a short, medium, and long.
Okay. Do you have maybe a list of questions people should be sort of like asking themselves? Because I think of this as a kind of interview. So questions you would answer on if you were being interviewed and you wanted to come across really, really well. We all do. You don't want to come across like an idiot. What are there? Would you have a maybe set of questions that maybe that people should be kind of thinking about, to be asking themselves as they, to sort of guide them through?
Well, the first one is, how are you going to improve my life today? How are you going to make my day more interesting?
Well, what I'm saying is, for the bio.
Yeah.
So what do we want to say in the bio? The bio itself should make the day more interesting. The whole thing.
Okay.
So what you need I'm just trying to think of something that we might do to kind of like tease out. Because Joe said earlier, sometimes when you're in it yourself, you know what I mean? That it's kind of hard to go like, well, I don't know. I'm just like a regular guy, I just go to work and I don't know. So is there a way to
Well, then tell those stories. That's what Bruce Springsteen and Johnny Cash told stories about, being an everyday Joe and being the underdog. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you're a 1%er, it's going to be a bit harder. But I don't know if you are a 1%er listening to this. Hi. I don't know what to advise you about your music bio.
Well, I was I just was thinking of a couple of things. So you might want to ask yourself some kind of like oddball questions just to kind of dig deeper, to get to know yourself a little bit better. So I would delve into what was your like first memory of being like really turned on by music, to the point where you thought, maybe I want to learn how to do this music thing. And I'm not saying that it's in itself works its way into the bio. Some of these things may not, but they will get you thinking in different ways. Okay? So, what are you passionate about that isn't related to music? Because, there could be other things like we talked. You said you were going to give an example of a band or an artist that's overtly political and is kind of controversial.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of one right off the top of my head. I know these guys are very politically motivated, but go ahead. I don't want to steal your thunder if you got somebody.
Well, oh no, who have you got in mind?
I was thinking of Rage Against the Machine.
Yep.
That's their whole thing. I mean, they are actually activists.
Yeah, that's right, and that's the whole thing. And if you don't like politics and music, you're not going to like Rage Against the Machine.
Right. I don't like politics and music, but they won me over because they're just so great.
Yeah.
But there's a good example. So you talk about something you really, really believe in, something you feel. What if you could change anything about the world? Other than the COVID-19, okay, blah, blah, blah. But if you could change anything about the world, what would it be? Maybe I would ask that question to myself. Just to get myself digging a little bit deeper. Tell me something about yourself that you might, other people might think is uncool. Like some nerdy fact. Are you into cosplay, or I'm a Trekker, stuff like that. So do you have some kind of like goofy hobby? Do you have some kind of strange habit? Do you have to flip a light switch off and on 10 times every time you walk into a room? Stuff like that. I would start to just delve really deep and start making a list of these different things about yourself. These don't all have to be in the bio. This isn't, confessional time, but you will. I think if you start to look, I think you're going to find out. The point is getting to is that you're probably more interesting than you realize. What did you have? What was your family situation? Was it totally nuclear, or did you have one parent who was I know somebody, for instance, who their mother was the first female drill sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. And that really shaped how she viewed life and everything. So did you have something interesting going on with that? So I think you have to sort of like, you have to start to think about these things to kind of like tease out who and what you are. Joe, what do you think, buddy? You're being a little quiet today. Because I know you probably
really
deal with this with businesses too, don't you? Like sit down because because this is kind of like finding the USP, the unique selling point, right? It's kind of like that.
Yeah, there's different, like the bio can be manipulated into a bunch of different things. Like I was just writing down, it's kind of like developing your elevator pitch or your mission statement or your manifesto, the about page to your website. There's a lot of different expansions of the bio that you can write. And it really comes down to what's going to make you interesting. And you really got to dive down into like, what do you care about? What do you do on a daily basis that other people don't know? What do you think about or study or practice that people don't know you care about? It's really just like diving into who you are and more importantly then what your work is about. So most likely the kind of people you hang out with, the things you listen to, the things you watch, the things you do in your everyday life somehow manipulate or play into what you do. So it all plays into your music in some way. So what you would do is you would just sit down and like start writing down all the things you care about, all the things you do, all the things that make you, that maybe you don't think make you unique, but it's who you are. And then you play off of those things to write your bio.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that's what we're getting to. Let's talk a little bit about the actual music and how we convey that. I have some thoughts on it. I know one of the things that people talk about is there's a place there's a point in the bio where you might want to mention maybe influences or direct comparisons. We are like this, we are like that. If you like this, you'll like that. I want to give Kerry the floor on this. What are your thoughts on that?
Don't get too carried away with that. One of the reasons is you want them when they listen to music to be thinking about you and not somebody else.
Okay.
You have to acknowledge your influences. It's no good pretending you don't have anybody. You might mention like a good one cliche that hasn't got old is in the vein of. Say in the vein of is always a good word to use. Often in music journalism, you'll get a lot of purple prose when it comes to comparing bands with others. And you know what I mean by purple prose?
Explain it.
Purple prose is when word salad, basically. You just throw loads and loads of flowery words in there that sound impressive and mean bugger all. And it just comes away looking deeply. You just come away rolling your eyes from it, and you have to like throw all the crap out of the way before you can work out what it was they were saying. But you certainly will mention people that have influenced you as well. But again, that falls in the category of things that you use to back up what you've already said.
I was thinking of you could do it in really unique. Again, you should make it entertaining. So I was just off the top of my head, we grew up listening to Led Zeppelin music, but we're really frustrated that nobody dances to rock anymore. So we wanted to make heavy guitar-driven rock with a disco beat or something like that. That wasn't worded well, guys. Don't copy that, but work that out if that's what your band
But just
does.
off the top
of my head. So we are Chic meets Black Sabbath. Imagine Black Sabbath walking into a disco in 1977 and being completely inspired to change their style. That's what we sound like. something like, okay, I'm getting a little
Yeah,
better at it as I go along. But stuff like
that's
that,
good.
like
So
that gets people to throw. What are these guys are doing? And it's told in an interesting way. And don't go on again, like Kerry said. You don't want to go on too long with this. You don't want too many adjectives and things like that. A sentence. Just a sentence that people can easily understand that gets people's imagination and goes back to capturing the feeling of what you do. Joe, you have any other comments or any other thoughts on this? Because I know you're always coming. You've been into working with businesses in marketing for a long time, so I always like to kind of get your perspective on these ideas.
Yeah, I have multiple sheets I use when I do it that have like questions I'll ask the client in order to try to dive into that. And then I'll just make a big list of how they answer it in order to try to pull it from them. And then other times, like I just dive into the person's business and get to know them. I know like with Lou, we spent quite a bit of time going through all your old marketing, me getting to know you, and before I started writing stuff. So it really comes down to just, like I said, diving into who you are, like what your experiences were, what you did, what made you you, and what made your work what it is. And I have a list of like 100 questions or 90 questions or something that I just sit down and ask. And you can search the internet for these things. Like I just searched online, so I wasn't using my own like biography interview questions. And I came up with a document that comes up with like 90 different questions you can ask yourself. And so if you ask yourself those questions and then you say, well, how did this influence my music? Right? Because ultimately you're trying to get people to not only know you, but know your music. So how did, my first job influence my music? How did my favorite job influence my music? How did my high school experiences influence my music? Am I political? Like what made me political? What made me get involved in that? Was it something my mom or dad taught me? And a lot of these different questions as you build your bio will lead to other content as well. So keep that list in one place so that you can take that and build from it. And over time, your bio can change. So, you don't have to write the like most amazing bio ever and like be the best writer ever to write your first bio. Just get in there and start like asking yourself these questions and finding out like what made me write. Like even if you just wrote one song, even if you just played one song, what made me do that? What about that song was I trying to convey to everyone? What made that song what it is? And probably what you'll find out is whatever made that song what it is ends up coming down to what made me who I am today and potentially where I may go tomorrow.
Yeah.
Asking yourself specific questions. Yeah, that's a good point. Asking yourself specific questions about a specific song you wrote or why you play the music you play. Why are you playing EDM? Why are you a gangster? I don't even know if that's a thing. I apologize. Why are you a gangster rapper? Why are you why are you so passionate about old school 70s funk? What is it? Why? What happened to you? Something happened. You didn't just like decide. It's not an arbitrary decision. That music turned something on in you. When, where, how did that happen? And really did. Now you're going to end up with paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs, and you're going to end up with a book.
Yeah.
You have to, but this is good because it's always better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So you can go through. You're going to find tons of interesting tidbits in there, and you're going to find your own language as well and your own voice as to how to say it. And if you need help, there are people that can help you do that. But Joe just sent me a couple of links. The one, Joe, I had in my notes already. But smartblogger.com, how to write a bio. I put these in our reference section in our show notes so you guys can access them when you get a chance. Kerry, I think you look like you want to say something.
No, keep going with this, and then we'll.
Okay, but I'm
just making sure I've got my evidence ready.
So I had an idea also.
Good, Joe,
like
good.
If you say, well, the only reason why I'm doing this song is because, I met this band. Like I have 3 people I met. They're my friends. We wrote this song. They're my band. So I wrote this song. This doesn't exactly portray everything about me, but it's what came out of this relationship. Then ask yourself, like, why do you hang out with them? What about them is attractive to you? What made the 3 or 4 of you jive together?
Good stuff.
When you're, practicing in the garage or wherever, what else do you talk about other than just the song? What do you do? Like, do you sit around and play Dungeons and Dragons for 3 hours? I'm being really weird, but
it's fine.
For 3 hours and then play songs, or what is it that makes that relationship work? Like, what do you all care about? You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not about one person.
Weed.
So just really diving into the influences of your life and your music and your band or whatever it is will help you write these things.
Yeah, I mean, to expand on that and going back to the earlier point about the old bit about all modern music's a load of crap and we're here to save the day. The actual way you should be wording that instead is saying what musical experience isn't modern music giving you right now, and what and how are you then supplying it instead. So the actual way you should be doing that is using it to define your niche.
Yeah, we ignore those generalizations like that. If you say all modern music, blah, 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 and you're here to save the day, that immediately turns me off, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Maybe I'll listen to, like, the song, but most likely I'm going to skip right over you if I haven't experienced your song previously.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the other thing about that as well is certainly as a fledgling artist, at some point you're going to want to get onto festivals, onto bills. You're going to have to work with people. And if you're going in from the word go with a reputation as a complete douche that's up their own arse, then no one's going to want to work with you anyway. And if listeners think that that's what you like already, you can just about get away with it if you're Axl Rose. You got no hope if you're on loan. So instead, when you do that, what you can say is that instead of doing that, what you then say, you focus that mainstream pop does, great as it is, doesn't offer everything it needs to everybody. There's the people who fall through the cracks, and those are the people that we wanted to reach. So that way, you're saying the same thing, but with a bit more humility.
Or like, yeah, we knew early on that we weren't the kind of artists that were going to make it on American Idol or The Voice. You could say something very specific like that, and you're sort of self-deprecating a little bit, but you're also saying we know that's not what we do, and you're not even criticizing that. You know what I mean? At that point, you're just you are just differentiating yourself to say we're doing something more specialized. It's the difference between your local hardware store versus going to like Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever you guys have over there across the pond. Some kind of big box store.
Focus on what you are bringing to the party, what not other people aren't. Because if you do that, then it's going to be sunk the minute you find somebody else who is doing what you're saying they're not doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you gave the example earlier about mixing rock and disco, and you just described most German industrial.
Well, the thing of it is, though, even if you are, even if your genre is German industrial, you are still doing it in a unique way, and you still have a unique story to tell, and you're still coming from it at it. Maybe there's some interesting story as to why you're passionate about that and why that music really resonates with you. So if you are playing German industrial music really, again, dig deep. Maybe you fell into it. Maybe you were a metalhead and you met these guys who were into industrial music, and they were looking for something different, and you all got along because you all love to play Dungeons and Dragons. There you are, Joe. and so that's where the conversation came up. So that so there's a story there that, if written not just the way I said it, but in a well-written way, would definitely have people go like, oh, that's different. That's cool. These guys seem all right. I want to check you out.
And then having done that, then you get on to sort of back it up with the evidence, which is what you've done.
Yeah.
And if you haven't done anything yet because you are a fledgling band, well, everyone starts somewhere. And so then it's just starting to mount up the things that you've got stuff to feed on there. That's when you go out and you play those bills. You say about what went wrong. And again, it's got to be specific enough and it's not just generic, have been wowing audiences. Everyone says they wow audiences. It says nothing.
It's a cliche.
I mean, what do they say? Wow, these guys are shit.
They're so terrible. We were wowed.
Yeah.
I had a college professor that used to say stuff like, your ignorance is encyclopedic. Anyways.
Right, so why don't we look at some actual examples now?
Oh, really? You have some examples. Good. I was wondering when we were going to get to this.
Yeah. Do you guys have any as well, or is it just me?
You are Mr. Example.
Oh,
I honestly, I want to say this real quick because check this out, Kerry. I got online to do that exact thing, and I wrote examples of great band bios. And the first 3 websites that came up that were supposed to teach people how to write bios and show examples of the bios were terrible. And everything that they said that you should write about a bio was completely freaking wrong. So if you search that, guys, on Google, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to name names, but the first 3 or 4 pages that come up they're completely wrong. Don't pay attention to them. Listen to us. Go ahead, Kerry.
And something else I'll say about that as well. And I'm going to show you some of the bad ones. Something else I found when people have shown me examples of really bad bios. Like Tom Robinson wrote a really good article about it. I'm going to show you some of that. But I Googled some of the example bad ones he had there to find out who it was because he changed the names. And I found 3 or 4 bands with the exact same wording of the bio. And when that happened, I realised what had gone on there. And what they've done is they've all paid somebody to write their band bios. They probably went on Fiverr. And what that person then did was they just took loads of stuff from a template, stuck it together, and charged them $10 or whatever.
Right.
I mean, we've got something else here about when you get people to do things for you. And obviously, Fiverr's wonderful if you use it right, but you have to remember that if you pay peanuts, you're going to get monkeys.
I just want to say you can pay a lot of money and still get screwed. I have somebody who will remain nameless. She is very well known and well respected in music marketing. She's a publicist, and I paid her company big money to write a bio for me, and I told them, I said, this is unusable. You need to redo it. They redid it. It was still completely unusable, and I just dropped it. I didn't want to start a fight with somebody who was kind of like an influencer in the industry and, have bad feelings. I'm like, okay, I just chalked it up to a loss. So even people who claim to know what they're doing might have a good reputation, do get it wrong. Kerry, let's hear some examples, buddy.
Right. Now, the political one I mentioned earlier, this one was Idols.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if Idols have made it in the US, but they've been huge over here as on an alternative level. Their real breakthrough song was Danny DeRulio. Pain leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to Vietnam. And so they are a political band, but they're full on rock, and it's really good stuff. So I'm just going to read their bio that's on Spotify verbatim. Passionate, political, and darkly comedic, the first 2 albums from Idols touch on everything from sexism to racism to Brexit and nationalism to toxic masculinity. So that is one extended sentence, but right now already we know what they stand for. This is a band that stands for something. So at this point, if it's something, these are things that you know. A lot of people do this, and a lot of people might sort of bandwagon with things like that. But that's why they go passionate, political, and darkly comedic. and then leading with something like that. Start to say what their angle is in with it, rather than just being right on. Their music feels incredibly personal and at other times universal, wearing both its heart and an active mind on its sleeve. So again, there's little things in there. Part of this, I mean, another thing with this, even successful bios, I say the thing about leaving the boastful stuff till later. Sometimes it feels like when you read good ones, it feels like the boastful stuff's just there. It's a very, very fine line to do. And when you actually read the examples, it's hard sometimes to tell the difference. But you do know when this is. Basically, it's if it's got enough substance for you to know what they actually stand for. So whether or not they're any good at doing this, straight away I know what they're trying to do. That's the important thing. I know the intention. And then I can listen to the music and decide for myself whether I agree. But there's enough there for make me to want to find out. In a musical landscape that's become so safe and sanitized, there again is the thing that I said, but there, they just said it and then they moved on from it. They didn't make that the main point. Idols are a bolt to the arm of the norm. Their second album, and then having done that, then this is when they start backing it up with evidence. Their second album, Joy is an Act of Resistance, debuted at number 5 in the UK charts upon its release in August 2018, breaking Rough Trade's all-time record for most pre-orders and sales in a day. So there's an accomplishment that they can put in there, having already said what they're about. So they've said what their mission statement is. Here's how we've accomplished it so far. The band saw not only the album singles, but the album itself A-listed at 6 Music, and it was later crowned 6 Music's #1 album of the year. They won best, and then they won, and then they went on to win a Mercury Music Prize. So all these accomplishments then come in there. So it starts off with, this is our mission statement, this is what we're trying to do. Okay, I kind of want to see you do well with this. What else you got? And then, so you did that, and you've had 2 albums, and they've actually won awards. It's not just you saying how great they are. I want to listen to this now. So that is an example of a known band. I mean, they're still like they're still like an alternative band, and you just don't know who they are if they're in them. They're built up to that. But even with a bio like that, it still leads with what they stand for immediately, and then builds up from there.
Gotcha.
I mean, any comments on that before we move on?
No, I think that they're going to either grab or lose the audience with the opening statement, and which brings I just want to say something that what I don't think when we didn't say directly is like how you hit them in the beginning is going to determine whether they're going to continue to read or not.
Yeah.
If they continue to read, if your opening statement is good, strong, attention grabbing, makes you want to know more, and they feel like it resonates with them, they'll continue to read. That means they're your fan, or could potentially be your fan. If a couple of things could happen. You could have a shitty opening statement, which means whether they could be a fan or not, you'll never know. Or they could be turned off by the opening statement, which means they're not your fan. And that's cool too. They want to go, those people will go listen to something else. But they have a strong opening statement, and I think that is what's going to make people want to check out the rest of it. I almost think that the accolades and stuff, that's great that they have that kind of success, but if I was into that, where they were coming from, I would probably have already at least started playing the song maybe while I read the rest. I'm just saying that's how strong I think the opening statement is. What do you want to read another one, or do you want to read it? Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
In the beginning, they tell exactly what they're about in a very colorful way, in which you can kind of picture what that music's going to feel like and be like. And it's captivating. Like you want to at least finish reading that beginning paragraph or statement. And then once you get through that, the accolades are just, okay, yeah, this is what we're about. But we also have people who like this. It's been on the charts, blah, 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 blah. By then, like Lou said, I'm like, ooh, well, this is kind of cool. Let's see what the music sounds like. Because I'm curious on with all those colorful words, almost poetic words in the beginning. What is this music what kind of experience am I going to get from this music? You know what I mean? And then the rest just is like, okay, well, other people like it too. They're already established, but I don't believe that you absolutely need those last like accolades of where they were on the charts. Like if you're a beginning band and you have that very like picturesque, colorful opening statement, that's enough to get people to go into your music. So don't let their accolades stop you from proceeding forward.
That's a great point, Joe.
Okay.
That's a great point.
Well, now I'm going to go to a band from Texas.
Uh-oh.
And this is Big Thief.
Big Thief.
Big Thief from Texas. And here's what they have to say. I will say that Spotify has messed up the syntax a bit on this one, the formatting. But I can still read it, so I'll go ahead and say what it says. And this one's a bit more like what we started with about using your location and your background. 30 miles west of El Paso, surrounded by 3,000 acres of pecan orchards and only a stone's throw from the Mexican border, the band Big Thief, also known as Adrian Lenker, Buck Meek, Max Olechik, and James Krivchania, set up their instruments as close together as possible to capture their most important collection of songs yet. The band has only just finished work on their third album, UFOF, The Celestial Twin, days before in a cabin studio in the woods of Washington State. Now it was time to birth UFOF's sister album, The Earth Twin, Two Hands. And then it goes on to go in a bit more. This is basically a press release, actually, now I read it. But it does end up with, while you listen, let your own two hands rest in front of your body with palms facing inward to see what power grows between them. Now there, again, I've got a good idea that I think this lot are going to be a bit more sort of like Burning Man sort of experience. This is a bit more new age. Straight away, started with a location. The idea is putting me in a place 30 miles west of El Paso, so out in the desert, close to the Mexico border. They mentioned 3,000 acres of pecan orchards. It's using this to paint a picture of a location. So I'm getting this idea of them being somewhere, being a jam band. They're going to be a little bit meditative. Little things like the titles of The Celestial Twin and all the rest, especially thinking about big skies. So I know that if that's the sort of like thing I want from my music at that particular time, that's enough probably to make me think these are maybe somebody worth checking out. And then it starts moving in what their actual records are and what they've done going through there. The bit about the most important collection of songs yet, yeah, again, every band thinks their latest record's the most important. But I'll forgive them in this sense, because at least it's them saying this sort of mean business of what they're trying to do at the moment. So this isn't a facetious.
Well, maybe I took
This is
that to
one
mean that it was their most important collection of songs yet.
To
not
them.
like
To
yeah,
them personally.
in their catalog. This is our like best stuff so far. That's the way I took it. I didn't hear that as bragging. I just heard that as like, this is our best record. And I think that's you probably want to have that attitude. You don't want to be like, this record isn't so good. The last two, you should go buy those, but this one sucks.
Yeah, this. So that's,
I almost feel like there should have been a headline before all of that that would portray more of a meditative, atmosphere, or not atmosphere, but more of like the music itself, like a meditative feeling for the music before they got into the location and all that, because I was kind of turned off by the location and some of those other things. It was too wordy, too long.
Okay.
I was with them. I thought that they were going, but I thought that what they were going to describe was a kind of like Americana kind of act, though. With we're like a mile from the border, and I think I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking, John Prine or Joe Ely or that kind of alt country kind of thing. So, but I went with it. It intrigued me enough to kind of check it out. I think Joe, you have a point that it could have been a little tighter. Maybe that could have been the longer.
Yeah,
bio.
I mean, there was a lot of word salad there. It lacked a lot of formatting.
And what did they call
Spotify?
Kerry, I missed the name of the band. What did they call it?
That was Big Thief.
Thief, as in to steal.
Big Thief, as in person who steals your stuff.
Okay, Big Thief. Okay, because I googled them and it said they were from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, I thought well, there you go, straight away then. Their Biog has failed because I thought they were from Texas.
Well, yeah, they start off with the Texas atmosphere, then they're like in Washington to make this new thing, and now they're from New York. Like, Okay.
Yeah, it says American indie rock based in New. Adrian Lenker, Buck, Meek, Max. Who is that? Is that the band?
Yeah, that's the guys. Yeah.
Okay, all right, because that's what threw me. Because you said so. So this is a problem with this bio, is that it's atmospheric and is all that was.
Yeah, but we don't know where the hell they're from.
I googled them and I'm thinking I have the wrong band.
Yeah.
But I do say UFOF. I see that now. I had to read a little bit. So be aware. That's a good point, man. So we discovered something really cool. Is like you can take it. You still got to give people the correct information so they're not confused. They don't go looking in the wrong places. Yeah, that's as bad as bands that have bands that pick a name like you don't pick a name like Untamed. We've done this on the podcast, and I can't find them because there's 30 bands and 20 other things called Untamed or something like that. It's just maddening. Go ahead.
If your name's Big Thief, I'm expecting you to be like an outlaw. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but not like.
I think that was where I was confused too. Big
I don't think these guys are going to steal anything. They just want to sit out in the desert and look at the stars.
Yeah, meditative and Big Thief.
But anyway, here's one more. This is a band actually, and one guy that I sort of became friends with on Twitter, and he's also one of the people on Twitter. There's a few people that I know that are really into songs, and he's one of the guys I know that's really into songs, and he is a mine of information on songs and songwriting. So this is his band, The Last Dinosaur. They're a band from London. They've been going quite a while. And I'm going to read their Spotify bio. Jamie Cameron and Luke Hayden started The Last Dinosaur in 2006 after a bout of severe friendship. Shortly afterwards, violinist Rachel Langsey, a.k.a., and then it's one of these names that's hard to pronounce because it's put punctuation, joined and late night experimenting on a multi-track recorder produced the recordings that would become 2010's Hooray for Happiness, an album that the line of Best Fits called one of the most refreshing, creative and inventive records of the year. It was, by the way. It's a great record. Shortly before Hooray for Happiness was released, Jamie began work on Follow Up the Nothing, a collection of songs about mortality and coming to terms with the loss of a close friend after a severe car accident that happened during his teenage years. After 7 years in the works, the album was finally released in the summer of 2017 by Name Records to critical acclaim and has seen comparisons to Sparkle Horse, Penguin Cafe Orchestra, Nick Drake, Sufjan Stevens, Gravenhurst, The Leisure Society, and more. And that's then followed with a bunch of reviews with star ratings.
Okay.
And it's all beautifully set out, so it's really easy to read on Spotify.
Give me the opening sentence again.
Jamie Cameron and Luke Hayden started The Last Dinosaur in 2006 after a bout of severe friendship.
Okay, so these are friends that started a band.
Yeah. There's quite a colourful way of putting like that. Bout of severe friendship.
Yeah, no, that's colourful.
Like getting the flu.
So if you are going to say something, and quite frankly, the idea is kind of generic. We're some friends who started a band is basically what they're saying. But they said it in with a bout of severe. So they did it in a unique way. So I definitely give them credit for that. I popped over to their website. They've got insane accolades from a lot of music outlets. They've got
they have insane accolades from me as well.
Really,
I love
really,
that.
and Kerry loves them obviously.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to check them out based on what you said.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Read me a little bit more of that again.
So.
Because I'm not. Just a minute, Joe. Could we? I just. I'm not. I don't know if I'm sold on it or not. After about the severe friendship.
Okay, so then it's quite matter-of-fact stuff. So then they followed that bit up and said about Rachel, the violinist, joining. And they went on then to explain Hooray for Happiness. It was pretty much a statement of fact that they did that and then put a review quote in there. So there wasn't anything too colourful there, but it just said we did this. The next thing they did that was really, in terms of storytelling, they're a bit more subtle with their storytelling here. They said their follow-up was, having done Hooray for Happiness, they did an album that was a collection of songs about mortality and coming to terms with the loss of a close friend after a severe car accident that happened during his teenage years. Maybe one thing I'll say, it's not actually clear that I think the victim was in his teenage years rather than them at the time.
Okay.
I had to read that a little bit to get the story straight. And that's when it goes on to there's a list of the list of artists there. They're suitably evocative and specialist enough that I look at that list of influence, that list of comparisons, and it puts a certain style in mind.
Joe, what are your thoughts? I know you want to say something.
So as far as musicians and accolades and stuff like that, I don't know who any of these musicians are or any of the accolades are. So that's not what I hear. That's just a list to me. But I hear severe friendship in the beginning, and that kind of sticks with me a little bit, but it's general. But when they then start talking about the losing of a friend in a severe car accident and how that affected him and blah, 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 like that makes me think, well, this could be very emotional storytelling, heartfelt. It makes me think, well, maybe I want to listen to this. I want to see what this is about, especially if it did get the accolades. But I wonder if there's a way to write it in such a way where knowing that this is about friendship and knowing that and about, those kind of feelings, if there's a way to write that to where it would be up front in the beginning and all the accolades could follow later on in the end.
Yeah, that's something I'd say about this. I mean, it's sort of like the way that they've chosen to go with it this time.
There was also a part in the middle between the severe friendship and the car accident where it talked about, like, I'm having a hard time remembering, but the style of music maybe, or the general topic.
But just experimenting on a multi-track recorder. Produced the recordings that become 2210's Hooray for Happiness. And then it was an album that the line... Actually, I don't know who the line of Best Fit are. So there's that. One of the most refreshing, creative, and inventive records of the year. Again, that says nothing.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is I'd like to hear more about, like, what the music's about, what the feeling of the music is in the front, and the accolades could come after.
Yeah. I think also, knowing Jamie Cameron as I do, I wonder if he realises that one of his strengths is that this is a guy who actually is a real student of the art of song. This is a guy who has studied songs and really looks hard at them. And I think that's a strength he doesn't realise he has.
Well, guys, I think that these are really interesting examples. My opinion, Idols is the strongest bio.
And they're also the most successful band. Well, I say that. I think Big Thief had about 1.5 million plays on the Spotify page. So there's that. But I know Idol's better than them, but that might be because I'm British.
And I want to say, The Last Dinosaur, I'm completely pissed off because, first of all, that is a great band name. And I wish I would have thought of it because that movie, it's you guys probably don't know, but it was a movie from the 70s starring Richard Boone, and it was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I loved that movie, and then when VHS came out, I could never find it, and you only it was like movie of the week in 1974 or something like that, and I could never find it. It was it does not hold up at all now, but because I did eventually find it and rewatch it. But I love that movie as a kid, and we've been fighting to find a band name for my band, and I'm like, oh, that would be perfect, but somebody took it. All right, so I think we've really hit it well today. I also think we picked up on some interesting things that maybe I haven't seen any other literature out there online about writing a great bio. So I think it was a good talk. Any final thoughts, Joe or Kerry?
You go first, Joe.
Anything you want to?
I would just say writing your bio is just a lot of reflection on what your music is about, what you're about, what your experiences are that led you up to doing what you're currently doing. And if you're working with others, then definitely figure out what that connection is and what led them to do what they're doing. And also ask people when they listen to your first song, what do they feel? How do they feel when they listen to it? What did they get from it? Then it might give you some insight.
Kerry?
Yeah. And yeah, but it isn't evolving. Like everything else you do creatively, this is something that's ongoing. And you're going to keep refining it, and sometimes you're going to if you put something out there and it's just not getting the hope you want, then chuck it in the bin and start a new one. Do something else. There's always some way, and even when you think about good and bad ones, it's so subjective. And often the rules that we come up with are more guidelines, because there's some good ones that will look like they're breaking the rules, except they're doing it in just the right way, that it's just about getting away with it. And there's others that look like they're doing all the right things and just end up saying nothing.
You just made a great point that this is like everything else you do, guys. It's an art, and it takes practice. So the first bio you write won't be very good. The next one will be a little bit better. The next one will be a little bit better. You'll get some feedback. You'll keep tweaking. You'll keep getting better at it. And just like the songs you write, some will hit, some will miss. Don't give up. Just keep working on it. There's no exact formula, and please don't do a template. Okay? Kerry, how do people find you online?
hjkmusic.co.uk.
And Joe, how do people find you?
Okay, so orangetreemarketing.com is me personally, and then if you're a musician, go ahead and go to loulombardirocks.com. It's the best way to get a hold of us.
All right, guys. LouLombardiRocks.com is where you want to go. You've been listening to the Ludini Rock and Roll Circus Musicians Mastermind call. We do this once a week. If you would like to join our mastermind, right now at the moment, there is no cost. And I put the link in the show notes below on YouTube, as well as on the Spotify, Podbean, and all the places there. So go to that link, get in on it. You guys are welcome. It's getting towards summertime. I think some people are like, don't want to get on, but you can actually get on the call with us. We publish the Zoom information. You can jump in and talk with us. We're happy to answer your questions. So check out the link for that. Guys, have a great week. We'll talk to you on the next Ludini Rock and Roll Circus Musicians Mastermind. Okay, cool. Okay, good job, everybody.
Yeah, I'm going to take off quick, because I've got a lesson to go and do in a minute. How you getting on with that artwork you had for Peace in the Valley?
I've been thinking about it, and I have an idea. I might draw it out, because I'm looking for something similar online I couldn't find, but I got an idea of a more symbolic kind of imagery for it, with like a crowd of faces in some kind of like cavern or valley, kind of all looking up, like maybe wistfully or hopefully or something like that. I think that's going to be kind of powerful. So I think that's the way we're going to go.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Thanks. Yeah,
like
and I do appreciate the input, because that got me started to do something. Sometimes you just need to kind of start something.
I mean, the Death Valley thing. That's just like a quick, obvious thing. As a starting bit in that.
Yeah.
I mean, was it the most rock and roll of America's national parks?
Cool, man. Appreciate it.
All right, but yeah, your ideas. I'm liking that idea that you just described. That sounds good. All right, I'll see you next time then.
Take care, man. See you later.
All right, all the best now.
So, Lou, did you want to talk, or do you got somewhere to be?
No, just give me a minute here. I want to make sure I save this in the correct place.
Okay.
There it is. Mastermind calls. Come on. Dini Rock and Roll. No, come on. Dini Rock and Roll Circus. Mastermind. 5, 3, 20. Okay, so this is taking me a little while, but I did finish what I'm doing, trying to do a little differently, because I discovered when I started doing these podcasts with other people is actually having, like, I'm reading their descriptions, and even though I'm not reading them exactly, I'm improvising a little bit to make them a little more like sound more like conversational. I'm doing a lot better. I'm tripping over my voice less. Sounds more natural, more fun. So with the videos, I'm actually writing scripts instead of just winging it. And I will use the script as a kind of an outline. Some of the stuff will come directly out of the script, but I just want to have something there so that I don't do exactly what I'm doing right now. That kind of horse shit. So that's where I am with that. I have the first video. I have it scripted, and I think it's really good. I go through. I do like a quick introduction about myself. I explain what I'm doing. Tell them about the 3 different courses, and then at the end, I do explain why group coaching is so powerful. Because some people, I think, may not. Some people will be like, well, why can't I get private lessons? And so I give like 3 reasons why. It sounds long and complicated. It's not. It's just a few minutes, really. And the other ones, I'm just going to give some examples quickly of what they're going to learn. Becky said to keep it to like 3 to 5 minutes, and I think she's right. And which is good. And this has also helped me kind of put together, like in my head, a syllabus for each thing of the things I want to cover in those courses. Some main topics we're going to touch on. But I know from being in other coaching things like this, where you get multiple people, this conversation kind of switches around. Like I'm involved in a podcast mastermind, and David comes each week with like a topic. But we usually end up talking about whatever we want to talk about. And sometimes we touch on that stuff. Sometimes we don't. But it's always good. We always walk away going like, oh, wow, that was really good. Like, I really learned a lot. Thank you. And you get a lot out of the other members. So, but I want to have that stuff, that syllabus, that sort of structure. So I don't want to rely on people because maybe people will be shy at first. That when he started his mastermind, that's how it was too. People were a little shy at first, but after everybody got to know each other, we're all friends now, so we're completely comfortable like talking about whatever. So I will have that syllabus together. So that's what's been really good. Is just kind of made me sit down and really think about what am I going to teach these people. And so it's moving. I know it's moving a little slow, but it is moving. Other things aren't moving, are in motion too. The next 2 songs are getting ready to be released. I think you heard me talking to Kerry about artwork for the next song. So I want to have artwork together. I want to have some kind of like description, some kind of evocative description of the song to go along with it. I want to have a lyric video. None of this stuff is like hard or really expensive to do. So that is so those things are in motion, and then the song after that is not completely completed yet. It's in the mixing phase. Me and my producer are going back and forth on making some tweaks on that. I started getting because I got really pissed off with Facebook. I just started concentrating on my groups, specifically the inner circle, and I found that the more I encourage them, the more they participate. So I don't know if you've popped in there lately, but there's a lot more people mixing it up. So now I feel much more confident in running inexpensive ads to it to just build it by a few fans a day, even if that's all it is. Because I think that I feel like I really got something. It took me a while to kind of figure out what I could do with this, which has led me to think, I don't mean to be like throwing a million things at you, which has led me to think, what will a fan club, like a paid fan club, look like? Because we can't do the same thing in the inner circle and then have as a paid fan club because, well, they're already getting that for free. So that doesn't make any sense. So, a couple of things I definitely plan on doing. Once these music course, the funnel is, or whatever we're going to have for this is up and running, I am going to hit it hard in the inner circle group to get folks to, so we will be moving them with ads to the inner circle, within the inner circle, moving them into lessons and coaching, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
So the idea of this funnel is to at first do a post to ask people, where do you need help currently in the,
Right.
And then, so we need to do that Facebook post to get that poll started. within, like, let's say you say, Joe, it's going to take me a week to do the videos to put into the funnel. And I actually want to change up the first page a little bit based on Becky's suggestions. I don't totally agree with all of her suggestions, but some of them I'm like, yeah, let's split test some of what she said. And then we need to do an email pull as well. So if you say, hey, Joe, I think I'm going to get these videos done and ready to you in a week, then we could probably do that pull. We want to do the poll.
I'm confused. What are we polling for exactly?
So in the funnel where it says, let me pull it up. It's pretty much to see what they need help in. Like, do they want help with guitar lessons? Do they want help with singing lessons? Or do they need to build their audience? What's their main focal point? And then once they go into the funnel, they're like, yeah, I need help with that. They